Good day, open contact specialists. And yep, that's you too. Because if you're tuning in, like me, I'm Wendy, my husband Dave, like us, we are facilitators of open contact, as are you, and the bird agrees. So if you're hanging out here with us, welcome to the vibration of the path of open contact, with beginning with ourselves, which is a little bit of the part of the conversation today as well, but primarily it begins with ourselves and opening up to opening contact to our higher minds and of course the higher vibrational beings, however we like to define them, multidimensional, galactic, angelic, interdimensional, intergalactic, physical and non-physical beings, everything present, and as well as of course the earth inhabitants, all of them, and how we're opening contact with everything.
Extraterrestrial, other versions of humans, other humans that are perhaps not on our physical Earth, uh, whatever you could imagine
And I was
is.
thinking about dolphin when you said that too, is like the idea of like,
And
think of our connection to dolphin, think of our connection to our own, furry friends, we, our dog, our cats, our whatever it is that you have a relationship with, a bond with, that is a non-human being. Extraterrestrial means not of Earth. Um, and aliens are a completely different species from us. So it sort of opens up that idea. And if any of you are familiar with Bashar, we also know that the Sasani, when they begin to interact with our planet and other planets, all planets, any species that they have uh, open contact with, they specifically say they make contact with everything, every species on the planet, every species.
and every species has to be in agreement to the contact.
And that includes the trees and the every and the flowers and all of it. So we can name them all. But what we're excited to do in our highest joy and excitement and passion is explore these ideas openly with all of you, and really enjoy your feedback, your questions, your comments. So one of the things that been wanting to do, and I apologize for comments that we may have missed over the last few months. I just realized today that there was a lot of comments that we didn't see and didn't get to respond to. And so part of this is in our excitement of interacting with all of you is actually responding to some of the things that you're asking and questions and comments. And so we wanted to say hi to Linda from New York City, and kind of get into a little bit more about these concepts. And so and I'll let kind of Dave pick it up from here, as well as getting into the idea of the raw material, and Bashar material, and I'll let him kind of take the spin off from there. He's a little bit more familiar with it than I, and we've been doing a little bit of digging, so thanks for that, and encouraging us to do our own research, which is what we encourage everybody to do. And we've done a little bit of exploring for ourselves. And yes, I am familiar with the raw material, but we'll we'll talk about that in a minute. So yeah, how do you want to kind of
So,
spin this started off? But
so the question was sort of, what's our perspective on the raw material, the law of one, how it relates to some of the Bashar and Sasani material. And in the last video, uh, Linda made a nice comment, which I invite you to go back and read, because I'm not going to read it. If you're interested, go back and look at the comments. But I'm going to say that I agree 100% with what she said, and my response about how I feel about the raw material and how it relates today to some of the other materials such as Bashar is pretty much exactly what she said in the comment. The idea, Ross says to be that he's a sixth density consciousness, and what that means is if we are a third density moving to fourth, the Sasani are a fourth density moving to fifth. Fifth density is non-physical. The
Oh, here comes the sun. Sorry
the
about
sun.
that, you guys. I know now we're in the shadows.
The raw material, I believe, is almost all the same exact information coming from a slightly higher perspective, from a wider point of view, and being sixth density, and although supposedly there have been earthly incarnations of raw consciousness, uh, the material really comes from a density beyond our understanding. So, as he would say, there's a lot of room for distortion as it filters down into our understanding, beliefs, and density. The Sasani information is coming from a fourth and fifth density, and I would say that as we've sort of hired the Sasani to help us along in our uh, ascension process, so to speak, they have also studied us. They're more relatable to us. They're more relatable to the idea of physical, a physical experience.
And even the DNA idea of
and
that.
and of course, yes, and they're related.
They're related to us.
To us. So the information that they share with us is something more consumable to us as humans in our experience. I've looked at over the past week or so a bunch of different raw material, and I think I might have read all of it at some point.
I have not,
and
and that's I want to say that too. That I'm not nearly as familiar as Dave is,
Right.
for a variety of reasons.
So I think I've listened to some people read some of it, but mostly I'm pretty sure I've read all of it. It took me a while for me to understand really what was what it was talking about, but I think I have a much better understanding of it now. And piece by piece, because I'm very familiar with the Bashar teachings and the Sasani teachings, almost every single thing that I've read from Ra, I could see a direct correlation to something that was shared through Bashar, through Elon, through Ektar, through a couple of the other Sasani channels that we have listened to over the years. And there's not a lot of differences.
No.
You could see they're coming from a higher perspective. It's a little more, I guess you could call it metaphysical in nature. But there aren't any contradictory things being taught. There's no contradiction between the information, and uh, I would, and I think Bashar even says pretty much all the teachings come from the same place. So as you raise your awareness, raise your frequency, you're going to see that it's really all the same thing. And in the law of one, really the primary teachings is everything is one. Everything comes from one. Everything is just a different perspective of that one thing. And uh, uh, even we had listened to a Bashar clip the other day, and Ra says the same exact thing as you ascend through density and consciousness, even getting to the point of merging with all that is, you still retain your self understanding of,
Yes.
as in Ra's point of view, uh, even experiencing the all that is, I'm still Ra.
I
The Ra never goes
yeah.
away. So Bashar specifically says everything is always going to be from your point of view, and even as you merge with all that is, God, you're still going to be experiencing that from your
Your
point of
perspective.
view, and
Yes.
you're going to be you experiencing God through your perspective. And I think that that's a very important thing to understand, and the idea the idea of Ra and the law of one, and why we brought that up to begin with in the last episode, was uh, finding balance, and finding
Yes.
balance with the eclipse happening, the equinox happening. That is a point of harvest, so to speak, where everyone is given the opportunity that if you are serving the all, serving others, that
Yes.
you are, and Bashar says the same exact thing. You are serving yourself as well through serving the all, because you are part of the all. If you're if you are serving only yourself, then that is promoting the idea of separation. You're separating and segregating the ideas to serve yourself, and being excited to serve yourself and explore separation only brings more and more and more of that. And the way the universe is designed, if you choose to serve yourself as your primary point of focus, you will get more and more and more of that, and sooner or later there won't be anything left uh, to serve other than yourself, and you're probably going to get sick of that pretty quick. And uh, to think of that all in a positive way. And I think Bashar even talks about this in some
We were
pretty
even
old
just,
videos.
even Elon, we were just reading
the
about this very same
yeah
idea, the
the
same principles.
the idea of the yin yang symbol is that even in the darkest void of separation, there's always a single point of light, which always creates a positivity to go toward, no matter how negative you might be exploring. And so you would get to the point where all that's left is that little point of light, and then you've got nothing else to do but to move toward that point of light, and now you're back into the cycles of moving more toward positivity, more toward oneness, more toward the light and love and light. And so that's what I think about that. And I am by no means an expert in the raw material. And I think that as our consciousness expands, you will start to find the truths in everything. And that is just another truth and a way of looking at it. Uh, and I want to say that since we're new every moment, which also, even if you take the woo out of it, as you're learning new things in your life, as you're exploring more things in your life, as you're gaining more and more experience, even in the physical sense, you're always looking at things new from that new point of view that you've created for yourself. So even going back now and looking at the raw material, or looking at things like the Bible, other
Mm-hmm.
the Torah, other religions, other documents, you are going to see how maybe there were distortions. Maybe if you're reading something, there just you could clearly see the distortions in the writing, but you could also start identifying where it came from and where the teachings originated from, and that it is all really the same thing. It was just interpreted in a way that maybe served not the all.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And I felt like when I was listening to either one of them, um, Bashar or the raw material, which I've listened to a lot more Bashar than I have
mm,
raw material. Um, but it was like either way, it was a memory. Like they were, it was almost like what I was hearing was something I already knew. Somehow I already knew it inside of me, even if I couldn't articulate it, even if I couldn't explain it, or maybe I wasn't even fully conscious of it. But as soon as you hear it, even though it comes from two different perspectives, um, I heard something the other day from someone who said like exactly the same things as Bashar, but it was interesting how it was just the way he said it
mm,
that something different clicked within me. The information was exactly the same, um, simply spoken from a different perspective, yet the familiarity of it within me and the innate knowing of it, it's like, it's like when you hear that the material, whether it's Bashar or any other master teacher, it's like what we're hearing is what we're remembering to be already true, not something we didn't already know and
yeah.
contain.
And Bashar, of course, says all the information that you are hearing from him is really coming from yourself. He's just acting as a reflection back to you. There's never going to be new information presented. It's just exploring more and more of yourself that is being revealed to you as you go. And uh, that takes us to the next thing, which is something that Ra talks about, that of course Bashar talks about all the time, and is a very common thing in almost every spiritual discussion, and that is know thyself. And Ra specifically does talk about how do you find balance, how do you expand yourself, how do you move more toward uh, higher densities, higher frequencies, more and greater consciousness, and it's always a matter of knowing thyself more, finding out more of who you are, being more of who you are, and expressing yourself more fully. And even in some of the raw material, he talks about the idea of healing and healing yourself. And of course, Elon talks about it, Bashar talks about it. There isn't really healing. There's only becoming more and more of your own true self, and the healing is really becoming more of yourself,
Yes.
allowing more of yourself to shine through, so to speak. And the uh, dis-ease that we might experience is really just the disparity between who we're forcing ourselves to be and who we truly are. And the disparity between those two things, not being willing to be more and more of ourselves, is where the dis-ease comes in. And there doesn't need to be a process to heal other than deciding I want to be
More of
more of
fully of myself.
myself. And that that's really one of the you know greatest teachings that we can use and actually apply to our daily lives. Moment by moment by moment, you always have the opportunity of acting more who you know yourself to be, and when you don't do that, you get the reflection of that. And that's one of the laws. What you put out is what you get back, and it's demonstrated in every way you could imagine. So uh, certainly you would want to be as joyous and loving as you can if you want to experience that. And you are love and joy and happiness. That's who all of us are. So the more we know ourselves and express ourselves in that way, the more we receive that back. And one of the other topics of discussion and teachings has always been you get to choose how you want to experience things. And if you choose to experience them in a less than preferred way, that's what you're going to experience. And I think I even remember the idea that it's a percentage. There are scales. So if you choose that you only want to act upon 50% of the love that you know you are, you're only going to receive 50% of that back. And how that 50% gets worked out, some of it could be random based on your belief systems. Some of it might be specifically to teach you whatever lessons you might still need to learn, because you're only putting out 50% of your love when you could be putting out 100%. So it's a very interesting discussion, and I'm very glad the question was asked, and we could talk about this stuff for hours, and we do. Uh, all our free time for sure. We're talking about these kind of things and allowing, uh, the most relevant information to come in, and so.
And I was going to say too, and just to thank you too for sharing that you've had an explosive year of synchronicities and following your passion and seeing where that's taking you. And so it's very exciting when we hear other people sharing how they're applying this stuff in their day-to-day life. And it's not all about manifesting things and stuff and money and and there's just so much more to it than that.
And the formula is awesome, because when you're not really sure how to be more of yourself, how to find more of yourself, how to discover more of yourself, the formula makes it as simple as it possibly could be. Follow your highest joy and excitement. And there are more parts to it. But if you only spend your time following your highest joy and excitement, all the other things come into play. And you all of those things are ultimately discovering more of yourself and becoming more and more of who you are. And that's sort of, you know, the answer to all questions.
I think we're so afraid to do something different or new and exploring that now because we think there needs to be we have some kind of insistence that it needs to go somewhere, be there must be a reason for doing it. Like me too, this year has been an explosion of artistic expression for me in completely new ways with painting and drawing. I've never allowed myself to do those things in this way before, and how even though it the way it's related is that it's my highest vibration in that moment, and not expecting having any insistence on, well, where is this going to take me and why am I doing this and what do I do with the physical end result of that expression. And the answer has always been keep making more art, just keep doing what you want to do. And
And the whole thing is extremely exciting, because
it is.
we would watch a video about artists talking about artistic blocks or what to do next, or how to express yourself more fully. And obviously, when you talk about art, that's directly expressing yourself more fully. But they might not use the same exact terms, but they're intelligently discussing the ideas. And we could be listening to Bashar. We could be listening to Elon.
Right.
We could be listening to a raw law of one thing. It doesn't really matter. They're using their own words or providing it in their own perspective, but it's really the same exact thing. What are these negative beliefs that are telling you that you decide that you want to buy into, that you shouldn't be more of yourself? What are these negative beliefs? Do you want to have them? Do you want to hold on to them? And once you understand that it's a negative belief, and it doesn't matter negative or positive. It's just really preferred. What do you prefer? You don't even need to categorize them as negative or positive. And actually, something I read this morning with Ra is, from an all that is perspective, there is no polarity. All things are love, all
Yes.
things are life. So the idea even of a negative belief, yes, we're labeling it such because it is more toward the idea of separation rather than unity. But it's just as valuable, it's just as valid, it's just as truthful. It's it it's just what do we prefer? And all of a sudden, in this now moment, we are all told that we have the option of doing things the way we prefer, of experiencing things the way we prefer. And we're given instructions by lots of different people, including uh, our other friend Dave, not Dave.
Dave, not Dave. Oh, no, his name's David.
His name's Dave. But
Yeah.
um,
Oh, Elmer.
yeah,
I was going to mention that earlier, talking about
the same information.
yes, the Neville Goddard
Yes,
material.
same information. It's got a little more of a religious spin on it from time to time,
Well, because
but
he's using the biblical phrases, but again, the way you listen to it and understand it, it really is basically the same sorts of ideas, and that is just reminding you that that document is really to remind us of our power, um, and the way just even the whole process is of, oh well, visualize something and then let it go, think about it before you go to sleep, um, and allow your consciousness to, allow that to, once again, you're not creating something that doesn't already exist. You're simply drawing that which to you that is one relevant to your journey, and that is vibrationally relevant, um, and um, anyway, so that idea we can go, yeah, a long way with that idea about the visualization. And
so today I'm going to offer a little helpful hint of uh, permission slip, so to speak. And of course, this channel is about open contact. But open contact is really just opening yourself to more of who you are. And who you are is all things. So, of course, there's all things comprised of you, including, all the higher dimensional beings that we're now able to see more and more as we raise our vibration and become more compatible with those things. There are a lot of uh, people who are familiar with Bashar that might be watching this because this is an open contact channel. Of course, if you're drawn to this channel, you are excited about open contact.
sorry.
There are always a lot of questions about following the formula. And Bashar has said the formula is an observation that this is how mechanically we see your reality working. And we've dwindled it down to the easiest, simplest, most basic ideas to give to you to be able to apply these ideas. Now, almost everything is actually a belief. So the first step in following the formula is deciding you're going to buy into the belief that the formula works. If you aren't buying in 100% to the formula being an option, if you only believe it maybe 50%, because we all need to see it before we believe it. If you only buy into it 50%, the formula can only work 50%. If you buy into it fully, and that means knowing it will work, knowing that that is who you want to be, that is the you that you want to experience, and knowing that the formula can work so simply. If you buy into that 100%, the rest of it becomes pretty easy. And remember, we're still not changing our belief when we see things happening around us, circumstantial, that are always starting from a neutral place, and we're putting meaning to them unconsciously, subconsciously, consciously, it doesn't really matter. If we're putting meaning to those things in a negative way, number one, why are we doing that? You could also decide, I don't want to do that anymore, and make up whatever reason you want, as silly as it may sound. You don't care what somebody else thinks, and certainly don't have to tell someone how you're interpreting that thing that otherwise seems unpreferred, negative or otherwise. Look at it that way, and what you put out is what you get back. Very simple. And almost all teachings are in agreement of that idea. So buy into the formula 100%, then you could use it 100%, and it's going to reflect back to you 100%. And it's really just that simple. And all these other things are now going to come into your understanding, come into your knowingness. And now you get to look at things like, oh, there's all this raw channeling. What does it mean to me? How does that coincide? It's all going to align very simply. And the things that don't, you could ask yourself, what is it about myself? What beliefs do I have that don't align with this other version of truth? Because truth is truth. All truths are true. They're at least true for from some perspective. And that should be good enough. Otherwise, you're judging yourself. You can take the time to investigate what those things are, or you could just decide, I don't want to be the kind of person that is judging myself about everything and subsequently judging others in the same way and seeing reflections of that judgment. I'm not that person. And just decide, I'm not that person. I have a belief that says I believe 100% in the formula and how it works and the 5 laws of creation. Just as simple. And then enjoy the reflections of those things. And we've created time to exist, to be able to watch the transformation happen in a slower gradient than we would in a higher density type of environment. Enjoy that. Get to see the synchronicities that happen. Get to see how all the players fall into place to provide you with all the abundance that you need to be a person who believes 100% in the formula and experiences 100% of the formula. That's what I would like. How about you?
That sounds good to me. And
so,
go ahead. I was going to say something too, but go ahead.
What we were talking about earlier, knowing thyself. Bashar actually talked a lot about knowing thyself. He always talks about that in one way or another. But he actually had a meditation and a...
Well, it's a whole event, which...
So we're going to make it very easy for you, because you could look up the Bashar thing. You could probably...
It was a very specific event.
So Wendy has created on her other channel, Languages of Light.
This was 8 years ago.
8 years ago.
When I very first saw this event that he did. And I was hoping that I would have it written down in front of me, or that you had it in front of you, because the information, but I'll put the link below for the event that it was. And I was just guided to use this tool, this permission slip that was given to us. And it is a 7-week challenge, 49 days. Now, like I said, I was like 8 years ago. Zoom wasn't invented. this was in Google Hangouts, by the way, old technology. Um, and so, but I did a series of 8 videos. One was the introduction, and then the 7 week challenge. And I'm sorry, I don't have the name. I wish I had it in front of me. I wanted to send it to you before we started talking about it, so we could.
No,
I could.
well, she could.
Um,
We will provide a
I'll
link
put the link
to the playlist of these videos, so you could then go and
which
check it
also
out.
has the event link
Information,
to
right.
purchase if you want to purchase it. You know, if you purchase it
If
from
the link
Bashar.
even still works, because it's pretty old.
But yeah, I'll check all that out. So anyway, so yes, it was a commitment on my part, as well as the obviously those those that participated in these things. And it was just something that I was guided to do. And the whole point of the exercise, which is what this is all about, is the whole point of these exercises were simply to know thyself. And also, along with the idea of the sacred circuitry, which also has been around a long time, which was part of my own awakening experience, and also began to reflect my own connections to the society and the hybridization program and so forth. It was instrumental in my own growth for that as well. So even though these tools, for example, in charts, and the reason I'm bringing this up too is I'm starting to see like a resurgence of people in social media who are just now finding like these documents, for example, for the first time, these diagrams, a lot of which are for free at bashar.org. If you guys haven't already seen them.
Well, I don't.
And
I'm not sure if they're available for free.
I think some are.
You could access them for free if you know where to access them.
But I think, and there's, at any rate, I've just been seeing a resurgence of them. And we may have mentioned before that on my languagesoflights.com website, which is where we filter through all of the events and all of the emails and things like that for signing up for live events and so forth. And also, which pertains to also my other YouTube channel, Languages of Lights. But on that, the first page on the opening homepage of the website is the sacred circuitry for that day. So Dave basically took and he wrote a program that takes today's date and reduces it down to its lowest denominator, and then displays that sacred circuit that brought to us from Bashar for that day. And I've always been encouraged to use that tool even for that every day. Look and just, and you can do this on your own for sure. It's just, this is a shortcut that Dave did for us all, that we can just go, oh, what's today's symbol, and look at that sacred circuit for that day and say, well, what is it, and what does this mean to me? What is this message for me today? And I actually didn't even look at today's myself yet, or even think about today's date. So, and so for me, it's also a tool to use that idea, and to use that as a tool for my own sacred circuitry and my own development and all of the, I want. There's so many things that are falling in that I wanted to say, but so I think that the idea of both of these that have been instrumental for me in doing that 7-week idea, and it really only takes, the thing is it only takes a couple seconds every day to actually do the exercise. A couple seconds in the morning, a couple seconds in the evening.
So today is 10. Relate.
Oh, so can you see? I don't know. The sun, we should have done something about the lighting, but
No,
if
the
you can
lighting
see
is
it,
fine.
can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Relate. So, how does this information relate to you today? How are you relating to others today? How does that idea and that symbol, when you look at it, for whatever time you're guided to feel to look at it, what message is in there for you that day? And that symbol itself, relate, does something to me. It's very emotional for me because it's part of what excites me, is relating. the actual essence of the idea of relating to something or someone um, is kind of, I don't know how to explain it. It's like when you relate to something, don't you have that, oh my God, my heart is connected to you or that person or that idea or that um, all of a sudden you have this heart opening moment when you say, wow, I really relate to that.
So, how you experience life in general is defining a relationship between all the things that you're experiencing. If you create a relationship that is positive, you're going to receive a positive result. And a good example is sometimes, I'm not going to use the one that comes to mind, I'm going to come up with a different one. Uh, let's say traveling. You don't like to travel. Maybe you don't like driving in a car. Maybe you get, like motion sickness or something. You're creating a relationship between the idea of traveling and a negative, a non preferred result or at least experience. Changing the relationship you have with the idea of traveling, driving in a car, maybe it's just motion or whatever it might be, changing that relationship changes your experience entirely. Any change, any small change whatsoever is an entirely new experience. You're not, and it's not only the experience, but you're in an entirely new universe, experiencing it in an entirely new and different way in alignment with the relationships that you create with all these things.
I was just thinking about as you're talking about how when we were talking about service to selves and the difference between serving one's self and serving others serves thyself. And so sometimes I think we think of that as big grandeur things, like that we have to do something. It's the small things, and this is what was coming through is us making this video. It's as simple as that. Like for us, that was that thing. Serving, how can we serve the all and serve this vibration of the path that we are vibrating at, and how do we, by serving, by making a video, and this is like what we feel is us being of service to selves, because we're serving ourselves by being in our highest joy and excitement. So by serving ourselves, we're just making this video. That's what it's like. It's like I hear this message coming through that I think a lot of people think it needs to be, I have to change my everything, I have to become something, or I've got to, join this or do that, or it's this. How do I serve thyself fully by being in my highest joy and excitement, by doing something that is serving outside of myself, yet I'm serving myself, because it's so joyful for us to do this, if that makes sense
Well,
about
of
the
course.
difference.
So we're following our highest joy and excitement. That's why we're making the videos. We love sharing with all of you. We love talking about this. So we would talk about this if we had the video camera on or not.
Which we
So
do all
so
the time.
so our ideas are, why not share it? We certainly believe that it is serving the all to share this information, and it's there's not there's not really a separation between serving the all, serving yourself. Uh, we're only making up the idea of there's a separation. So there is no real separation, and that's sort of what the law of one talks about.
You're right.
Every little action that you take, every thought that you have, everything that you say because we're all one connected thing, has an effect on everything. And we're not going to know what all of that is. We don't, it's not our job, responsibility, or even within our perception. And it's not our business to worry about how being ourselves affects other people, other things. But if we're being ourselves and more of ourselves is a positive, it is positive, which it is, the results of that, even to other realities, other versions of people's perceptions, it has to provide a positive effect in some way, shape, or form. And you have to know that because we bought into the formula 100%. And it just has to be that way. And what you put out is what you get back.
I know,
And there you have it.
The lighting's driving me crazy. I was like, oh yeah, I should have set that better before I started the video. But this is the thing, when you're following your highest joy, you're like, yeah, let's just turn on the camera. let's just talk about this,
Yeah, we're sitting outside. We don't have a big studio behind us. We don't have any lights.
We're like outside. There we go. We can see the trees behind us.
Natural
So yeah,
environment.
we like showing the outdoors too, because it's just we like being outdoors, for all of the reasons you guys already know. So yeah.
So thanks for hanging out.
So thanks. Your
let us know your thoughts.
Yeah, your thoughts, your comments are always exciting to explore and share, and yeah, we like having this little corner of our spot to, comment corner, I guess. Okay. So thanks, you guys.
Thank you, and until the next now.
Shivai. Nieto que smesa roshniata.